Alright, greetings everybody. It is time for another update, a spoiler-free update, as today we're doing the idea that I kind of had the previous time that I made a video, which was yesterday, so I don't remember. But today we're going to be taking a look at the two new pieces of equipment, and just to round out the video, just, why not? We're also going to be taking a look at the new vision card too, and I'm just pulling it up on the screen over here because I actually don't have the Wotv calc data up yet. So anyway, we have a new wave battle. The wave battle this time around, we are looking at a great sword as well as a gun. So the way this video is going to work is I'm going to talk about the Save the Queen and the death penalty each. Now, from what I've actually been seeing so far, both of these actually are rated as a straight 10, which is usually the problem. And yeah, it always comes down to what units you have. Do you have the best gunners or do you have the best greatsword units? Really, I mean, that's kind of a major component of whether or not you're going to max these. But let's say for a second that you actually had all the characters. You had the capability, however, only to max one of these. Which would you choose, dear viewer? And I will say my opinion later, but this is kind of a thing I'm doing to make it a little more interactive. And we'll actually do a follow-up video later on where we will count the number of votes in the comment section and then choose an actual winner, both based on the community and what I have decided. So please leave a comment below thinking or saying which one you actually think is better with the hypothetical situation that I have given you. So anyway, now with the basic explanation out of the way, let's talk about it. And I think today we're going to start with the gun, the death penalty, which actually looks really awesome. And I don't know if artwork actually will be the deciding factor in anybody's. But here we're looking at a gun. Now, this gun has a maxed out 194 attack, 194 magic, 16 critical, and 20 HP. So if you're looking at actually like getting this gun and maxing it, you can use it for physical characters, magical characters. It doesn't matter which one. Both types of characters will actually benefit from using the weapon. And speaking of which, the effect for getting it up to 5-star is as follows. When an enemy is incapacitated, basically you end up killing an enemy, you get physical or magical damage is increased by 20% for 3 turns, 1 time per match. Now, what's interesting here is that this is just a static effect, and honestly, 20% damage boost, either physical or magical, seems really good for a lot of range. Now, you'll also get just ranged attack up by 20 and critical damage increase of 20%. Given some of the critical damagers that are out there, I think this gun is just pretty good. It has a very, very offensive flavor to it, and yeah, it's just particularly very strong with the damage boost, and the entire, like, essentially, like, focus thing here is directly on just killing your opponent, which is good. Now, here's the problem. One, if you get stopped by a really good tank, is this weapon potentially really all that good then if it gets canceled out? And by the time you killed an enemy, how close are the enemies towards your gunner or range, just ranged unit? If it gets essentially too close, will that damage increase actually matter? Of course, team building and everything is a major component here, and I'm going to leave it to you. But death penalty is exactly what it sounds like. It is a fairly just essentially damage orientated weapon, and that will make it very appealing for some people. Now, the second one is the Save the Queen, and Save the Queen is just another 10-star, 10 out of 10 weapon, essentially. Great sword that, when fully maxed out, has 266 attack, 151 magic power, 5 critical, and 25 HP. So it actually has a fairly high attack power compared to, some great swords. I want to say that for certain, but I guess it also does not. Anyway, talking about the Save the Queen's ability, first off, physical damage reduction 20%, and it's cancelled after receiving damage twice. Now, interestingly, this isn't physical and magical damage. Unfortunately, I think that would have been, probably still generally pretty fair. But you think about equipping this to different characters, such as maybe a Joom. This kind of just is, very anti-damage. You're also getting slash attack up by 20% and AP consumption rate down by 20%. In combination with some of the other characters that could equip this, maybe other sources that they could also get for AP reduction, it's potentially really good on that front alone. It still has pretty good offensive capability for also getting just a overall reduction of damage. And you look at, new Astries potentially using this. Joom is one. Other characters that I was thinking about potentially using this on. I mean, basically anyone who's just a great sword user. I think this is fair. Probably more towards physical units. But even magical units like Rain aren't necessarily a bad thing if you only had the option. Because you're still getting physical damage down, you're still getting slash attack up and 8 consumption. And that's just generally useful across the board. So, dear viewer, now I leave it to you. Which one, given that you could only max one of these, and you have all the units, where does your brain go? What do you think is the best? Which one choose? Alright, so that is that. And now we're just going to be talking about a few other things to, get this video up to around 10. So first off, there is a new VC on JP. This VC, this one, as I've said before, it's basically, Halloween Lucio. We're looking at critical evasion off of this 26. Where did my... There it is. We're looking at a speed increase. Sorry, I'll go back for a second. Bestowed effect, slash attack resistance penetration up by 10, speed up by 5%. I have a cat over here who needs attention, who's not on camera. Say hello. Hello. He got a little starstruck there. I think he needs to go. Anyway, critical evasion. We're getting single attack resistance, and last but not least, we're getting attack up. So it's a decent VC, and it's particularly pretty good for, it's decent for spear users and whatnot, but I still maintain that this VC is just generally okay right before anniversary, especially with a new type of vision card coming out. Probably best just save your pennies, and hopefully the new VCs are going to just be an initial good get for some people. But yeah. This VC, I think, is generally a fairly safe skip for now. Alright, and let me... Yeah, I think we do have one more thing to talk about today, which is Limit Burst. We have 3 Limit Burst upgrades today. So let's start with the water unit. An old favorite of mine, Eldyra. Before, increase CT of allies within range, increase effect if own ally is a multiple of 3. Now we're getting an increase of CT for self and allies within range, and increase the effect if the own unit is a multiple of 2. Nullifies Frostbite, Paralysis, Berserk for enemies for 3 turns. Reduces target killer for 3 turns when attack hits. So, interesting to say the least for this one, because, now this is finally benefiting her as well, which is really nice. I'm getting that CT boost, but you're getting that CT boost across essentially everybody, provided that it, hits the AoE. Range hasn't been increased on this at all. The status effect prevention is pretty nice because frostbite, paralysis, and berserk are some of the things that you would cross. Last but not least, reducing killer off of a hit is actually really nice here if you can grant that to allies, because you can essentially, it's one of the things that made Melnia particularly very interesting. And I think here it's just generally also really good off of a really good support unit. I might actually reinvest in this character because I'm curious about how well it pairs with some of the units, and the fact that she's just a really good support unit with really good heals. I don't know. I'm curious about this one. This one I think is really good. All right, but not too much time spent. Next up, Frederica. Before we get to Frederica's boyfriend, here we're looking at enhanced range after reducing a certain percentage of the target's shooting attack resistance returns, damage large, CT reduction medium. Gives an effect of recovering AP when a critical occurs for herself for 3 turns. So, enhanced range is particularly nice from what I can see. We'll just go in here and actually take a look. We want to take a look here. So here's her regular limit burst. Now we take a look here. Here's the enhanced one. I guess it doesn't show the range, which is a little bit frustrating, but apparently it just has enhanced range. Removing shooting target or target's shooting attack resistance is very, very good for her dealing more damage now. Also, just for multiple turns means that it powers up her other attacks. And recovering AP is pretty good too. I don't know, I think that Frederica's is pretty decent. Again, I don't know if I'd go so far as to really want to invest overly too much into her, but it seems decent without having seen the actual numbers and doing the testing, because, hey guys, even Umbra only has limited resources. And last but not least is Engelbert. And Engelbert's limit burst is just incredibly flat, boring. I mean, the rest of his kit has gotten really interesting upgrades, but you look at this limit burst, and this limit burst just doesn't have super high expectations for me of being good. So before it was damage to target, damage increases as HP increases. Now the limit burst is this. AP consumption reduced, range and shape enhanced. It's now gone up to 2x2 range, kind of a diamond style pattern. Deals damage to the target after all debuffs are removed. Large damage increases as HP decreases, and makes you more likely to be targeted by enemies and increase area attack resistance for 3 turns. Widens attack range and adds an effect that reduces damage taken as much as possible. I don't think Wotv Calc is going to help with that one, you guys. Seriously, reading this thing is a trip and a half. Actually, this might take just a little bit longer than I thought in this video, because I was not aware of how ridiculous this reads, but AP consumption is essentially always good. Engelbert, I think, with all of his upgrades that he's gotten over periods of time, is generally strong enough to survive a good amount of time to potentially get this off. Greatly increases own defense penetration rate is trying to up his damage. Also, like, removing debuffs, increasing his own damage after with more, like, it's a very offensive but still defensive and very, like, man, it just does so many things now. I still think that the range on this is very, very, very narrow, but thankfully it has been increased to at least be a little bit more flexible and reasonable, which does make it theoretically possible. And you're getting a lot of stuff here. You're getting hate up after hate has been unlikely used up. You're looking at, like, area attack resistance, but this widens attack range and adds an effect that reduces damage taken as much as possible. It is so curious as to how it actually reads from translation that this might just be the one that we really need to just upgrade it and test it in a separate video, because boy oh boy, I'm just curious about how this actually freaking works. Anyway, so again, to cut off this video now before it gets too long and too repeaty, let me know which one you think, gun or greatsword, and also, hey, if you want to throw in a which limit burst you think is the one that you would do out of the three. Let us know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and look forward to more Wotv videos. Sora! Alright, come here. Uh-oh. Sorry, I can't actually edit this out, but sorry, no.